Hidden Glories of Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 5. Evidence Authenticity. Authenticity, a valid concern. As in any crime, the evidence is critical to the determination of the truth and to the appropriate legal remedies or convictions pursued. There are always concerns about the authenticity of the evidence. Was the evidence gathered by Prabhupada Truth Commission fabricated, tampered with, or otherwise fudged to patch together a bogus claim of Srila Prabhupada's having been poisoned? No, it was not at all. The evidence presented in this book is authentic, to the best of our knowledge, and no attempt has been made to twist or misrepresent, deceive or mislead in any way. Memories, interviews, testimonies, and statements by various persons throughout this publication have been scrutinized as far as possible for veracity, and they are believed to be factual, truthful, or at least plausibly relevant. We have addressed contrary views and opinions without resorting to hyperbole, straw man arguments, selective omissions, or other mechanisms of dishonesty and deceit, methods which have been widely employed by ISKCON. The oral evidence is not tainted, but much is feared missing. The original tapes with the poison whispers are safeguarded in a vault at the Bhaktivedanta Archives in North Carolina, and high-quality copies can be obtained from them for a reasonable cost. There is no possibility of fabricating poison whispers, which are posted online for anyone to hear. The same applies to all the recordings of Srila Prabhupada's room conversations, walks, and lectures. Anyone can verify their translations or transcriptions and confirm their contents. The whispers, the poison discussions, and other relevant recordings are authentic evidence with no chance of any tampering by outsiders. Still, incredibly, the ISKCON leadership endorsed and paid for false and unsubstantiated accusations that Prabhupada Truth Commission tried to tamper with the poison whispers. This was meant to sow doubts about the audio evidence. See chapters 50-51. We should be more concerned about recordings that may have been tampered with before they were even given to the archives in 1978. There are substantial doubts of the May 28, 1977, appointment tape's integrity. There is evidence of up to 200 missing tape recordings which very likely had critical evidence about Srila Prabhupada's poisoning and the future of the movement. Missing tapes are a brutal tampering with the oral record given by Srila Prabhupada. See chapters 63-64. The forensic evidence is not tainted. All of the forensic specialists who studied and analyzed the poison whispers and the hair samples have substantial credentials and are recognized in their fields as performing honest and professional services. This is in stark contrast to the so-called experts employed and quoted in NTIAP, such as the refinery and Larry Kavar, who were small-time, struggling commercial ventures. The poison whispers were analyzed from copies of original tape recordings made by the Bhaktivedanta Archives, sent directly to the forensic labs. These tapes could not have been doctored by insertion of fake whispers. Even Tamal acknowledged the whispers, but he insisted on a different translation, one not confirmed by any of the audio studies undertaken. The 3 poison whispers have been certified by different audio forensic specialists, all of whom confirmed the essential words of each whisper. especially poison. The poison whispers are authenticated evidence that, as Tom Owens opined, justify consultation with a homicide investigator. While ISKCON misleaders deny the whispers, the poison whispers are forensically certified secret discussions of caretakers in Srila Prabhupada's room talking about poisoning Srila Prabhupada. This is a fact and is undeniable. The audio forensic studies speak for themselves. See Part 4. Hair tests which revealed sky-high cadmium and elevated arsenic levels were analyzed by a very qualified scientist at the uniquely equipped Murr Nuclear Research Center at the University of Missouri. There are few places in the world that are able to conduct these kinds of analyses, and the hair tests that confirmed the heavy metals in Srila Prabhupada's hair were performed by a top-rate laboratory in the field of neutron activation analysis. To disparage Dr. Morris's findings, see Chapter 51, is like barking at the moon. Some may be concerned about the hair samples themselves having been tainted or tampered with before being tested. The chain of custody or possession is documented below. The key point is that the 3 hair samples which confirmed cadmium, samples A, D, Q2, were passed from the custody of ISKCON temples and select GBC members or deputed agents directly to testing laboratories, and never were in the possession of anyone else. This does away with any idea that the hair samples or clippers might have been tampered with, as no one had that opportunity. Future hair tests will surely be confirmatory and should also be done in conformity with chain of custody protocols. How would it be possible to taint all 3 samples with the correct amounts of cadmium when they originated from different sources with different routes to the testing laboratory? This fact alone testifies volumes about the authenticity of the hair samples. And how could such tainted hair be inserted under the blades of the clippers, where they were found in the laboratory? The cadmium hair samples were authenticated at length by Hari Saridas, Srila Prabhupada's former personal servant, Chapter 29. Prabhupada Truth Commission simply completed the last stages of the GBC's own hair tests for them by making phone calls, emails, and payments. Are the hair samples from Srila Prabhupada? There can be no doubt about samples A and Q2, as they came from Srila Prabhupada's hair clipper, which went from Harisari to Balavanta to Dr. Morris. Sample D was arranged by Hari Sari Das, Srila Prabhupada's personal servant. He confirmed the chain of custody for all 3 samples by emails. If in the future someone would like to settle any doubts that these hair samples were actually from Srila Prabhupada's head, micro-DNA testing and other methods are reliable and accurate. Other hair samples are available to test if desired. In early 2017, Hari Sauri again verified the authenticity of hair samples A and D. Sample A, in a small plastic container, was brushed off the outside of Srila Prabhupada's hair clippers in 1978 and kept in the Vrindaban Museum on display until Hari Sari took it and gave it to Devagowda Hari in 1999. Sample D. Hari Sari went to the Melbourne Temple and retrieved a part of the Srila Prabhupada hair sample on display there, which he had donated to Melbourne ISKCON years earlier, and which he had cut from Srila Prabhupada's head as his servant in early March 1977. Conclusion: there can be no doubt of these samples' authenticity, evidence certified by impartial experts. It would be impossible to fabricate or falsify all of the various reports issued by the many unrelated experts that are evidence of the poisoning. Instead, ISKCON has conjured doubt in select pieces of evidence and then stated that all the evidence is bogus. This book will alleviate all these doubts, convincing that Srila Prabhupada was indeed maliciously poisoned. George Blackwell, Jack Mitchell, Tom Owens, J.P. French, Dr. Steve Morris, Dr. Agarwal, Dr. Paige Hudson, Dr. Callery, James Reams, Truth Labs, etc., do not represent a list of orchestrated or bribed parties. They are all top-notch authorities in their fields, and their reputations are behind their certification of the evidence. The GBC is cornered and desperate. The credible witness testimony of Bhaktivedanta, the Mexican Gurukuli, is corroborated by the testimony of other Mexican devotees, namely Durlab, Nandaprana, Adoksaja, and Ramanya. He did not make up a story out of the blue. His story has been consistent with all those who have heard it throughout the last 25 years, and it existed long before the poison issue arose in 1997. The testimony of the Vrindaban residents and Kavirajas from various interviewers concur with each other. Did they all make up their matching stories? No, these credible witnesses are all consistent in their separate accounts. Bhaktivedanta Swami indicated in the GBC denial book that the poison theory was fabricated and promoted by agents of Kali, but he could not substantiate his claim. The evidence was not manufactured. It is simply being delivered as it is. Rather, it is those who have covered up Srila Prabhupada's poisoning with lies, fraud, misrepresentations, and denials that must wear the moniker of agent of Kali. Chain of custody on tested hair samples. Sample Q1, arsenic, 2.6 ppm, hair clippers. This hair was cut by Srila Prabhupada's exclusive personal hair clippers, accumulated from many cuttings from November 1976 to September 1977. Pieces stuck around the clipper blades from different cuttings. The hair clippers were in locked display cases in Srila Prabhupada's Vrindaban rooms from 1977 to 1998. In 1998, Daivi Shakti Dasi, caretaker of Srila Prabhupada's Vrindaban rooms, gave the hair clippers to Harisauri Das, Dennis Harrison, who had GBC man Sesa Das bring them to Balavanta Das, William Ogle, in Alachua, Florida. In 1998, Balavanta Das sent the clippers to Dr. J. Stephen Morris, who removed some hair stuck between the clipper blades, tested them by neutron activation analysis, and determined the arsenic content at 2.6 ppm. This hair was hidden safely inside the hair clippers from 1977 to 1998. In 2018, the hair sample was sent to a Vrindavan Prabhupada Museum. Sample D, cadmium 19.9 ppm, Melbourne sample. This hair was cut by Srila Prabhupada's exclusively personal hair clippers by Hari Sari days before March 13, 1977, and was saved by him as a sacred relic. And he later gave some of this sample to the Melbourne, Australia ISKCON temple to be locked securely in Srila Prabhupada's rooms as a worshipable sacred relic. In 1999, Hari Sauri retrieved some of this hair sample and gave it to Devagowda Hari Das, David R. Hooper in Australia, who was the GBC agent. Hooper sent this sample D with sample A to Larry Kovar at General Activation Analyses, California, who could not test such small amounts of hair, and who was instructed to send samples D and A to Dr. Richard Cashwell at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, USA. Dr. Cashwell also could not test such a small amount of hair, and the sample stayed there from late 1999 until October 25, 2001, when Nityananda Das requested Dr. Robert Agassi. Dr. Cashwell had by then retired, to directly FedEx samples D and A to Dr. Morris in Columbia, Mo, USA. This hair was always in the hands of ISKCON managers and authorized agents. Dr. Morris received samples D and A on November 1, 2001. Dr. Morris tested sample D on March 5, 2002, finding 19.9 ppm cadmium. In 2018, the sample was sent to a Vrindavan Prabhupada Museum. Sample A, cadmium 12, 0.4 ppm, Daivi Shakti Dasi sample. This hair was cut by Srila Prabhupada's exclusive personal hair clippers by his servants, in many cuttings from November 1976 to September 1977, as pieces from different cuttings stuck around the clipper blades. Sample A is a mix from many cuttings. Shortly after Srila Prabhupada's departure, Daivi Shakti Dasi, caretaker of Srila Prabhupada's artifacts in his Vrindavan rooms, brushed off some hair that stuck on the clipper blades, put it in a small container, and locked it in a glass case in the Prabhupada Temple Museum. This container was sample A. In 1999, Hari Sari received sample A from Daivi Shakti and gave it to Hooper in Australia, who sent it with sample D, each in separate containers, to Larry Kovar in California, USA. Kovar could not test it and sent it to Dr. Cashwell, who could not test it either, and he soon retired. October 25th, 2001, Nityananda Das asked Dr. Robert Agassi to send samples A and D directly to Dr. Morris by FedEx. This hair was always in the hands of ISKCON managers and authorized agents. Dr. Morris received sample A on November 1, 2001, and tested it on April 18, 2002, finding 12.4 ppm cadmium. In 2018, it was sent to a Vrindavan Prabhupada Museum. Sample Q2, cadmium 14, 0.9 ppm hair clippers. July 22, 2005. Dr. Morris found more hair under the blades of the same hair clippers referenced above by removing some parts. Sample Q2 would therefore be closely related to sample A. Both samples A and Q2 were collected from hair that stuck onto or in Srila Prabhupada's exclusively personal hair clippers. This hair was hidden safely inside the hair clippers from 1977 until recovered by Dr. Morris. Dr. Morris tested sample Q2 on July 25, 2005, and found 14.9 ppm cadmium. In 2018, the hair sample was sent to a Vrindavan Prabhupada museum. We note all three samples never left the custody of the GBC and their trusted agents. Statement attesting truth. I, Nityananda Das, Nico Kite, do hereby attest that all the information I have submitted anywhere in this set of 2 books, to the best of my knowledge, is true and accurate. I have not altered, tampered with, concealed, fudged, or in any way misrepresented this information. I swear by Lord Krishna that I have been totally honest and forthright in the research, investigation, presentation, and discussion of all information I have submitted in these 2 books. I also confirm under oath that all other information, testimonies, and submissions included in this book have been accurately represented, and that they were properly vetted for veracity and are included only because of their value to the investigation and issues at hand. I have no motive other than the establishment of the truth in these matters and the restoration of Srila Prabhupada's mission to its pure condition as desired by Srila Prabhupada. In joining in the search for the truth of Srila Prabhupada's poisoning, I have lost friends, money, reputation, and become the whipping boy of my godbrothers. Often I have feared for my life, and I have lived as a recluse in remote places. I was formally excommunicated in 1990. But regardless of the costs or consequences, a disciple must remain true to his exalted guru, conscience, and the unvarnished facts and evidence, which I hope will be of use to others as presented herein. Signed, Nico Kite, Nityananda Das, February 4th, 2022.